want to share some lessons that I learned from watching Pica Pau's video tutorials on YouTube. I'm May, and this is May May's Crochets. I'm a beginner crocheter. I've only just been crocheting this past year, and I'm in the midst of working my way through Hobbie's Amigurumi Advent Calendar by Pica Pow. So far, I've done one full week of the pattern. I made Owen Stoat, and I have a video on my channel, which I will link to if you want to take a look at all of my thoughts talking through him. But here he is. So this is Owen Stoat. This is my very first Pica Pow pattern. I very much still consider myself a beginner crocheter. Maybe we'll say like advanced beginner, but this was a huge challenge for me. And before I started on week 2, I wanted to take a little break and do some learning. Versus week 1, I really just dove into the pattern, worked my way through. I did look some stuff up as I was going, but this time I actually wanted to take some time to do a little bit of research. So I came across these tutorial videos from Pica Pow herself on her YouTube channel. I will link to them below. They are in Spanish. She is Argentinian, and luckily I spent a good chunk of my life studying Spanish. So got to do a little bit of brushing up there. I also used the English closed captions. I think there may also be a way to have it dub. I'm not totally sure. Maybe that's only certain videos. But she has this great, basically it's like a course, she says, making a bear design that she has, where she really walks through kind of all of the complicated parts of it. And she basically talks through how she does things. So I want to talk through some of the things I learned from watching those videos. It was super interesting to see how she does things and just like good lessons overall. She seems super cool. And so I wanted to just share all of that. So I'm going to dive right in. I want to say just like at a very high level, my main takeaway from everything that I watched, and we'll get into sort of all of the details with her techniques in a moment, but the main takeaway for me was she was really clear about like everything is just a matter of preference. There's no right or wrong. You can do whatever works for you, and there are plenty of options for how to do basically the same thing in different ways to accomplish the same end goal, but in different ways. And that was like, I don't know, it was a nice reminder for myself to hear that, especially as a beginner and as a sort of more like maybe like perfectionist type personality. I feel like I need to like do things the right way. And when I see videos teaching me how to do things, I think like, this is how you do it. This is always how I have to do it. And I just like that permission to sort of just like be flexible and try different things and experiment. I just, something about it felt very freeing to me to know that she, as this like super experienced crocheter and pattern designer, just says like, this is how I do it, but you don't need to do it this way. These are all just options. So that really spoke to me. Good reminder for myself that it's like, try different things, see what works, and go in the end with whatever I think is best for me. But given all that, I want to tell you a little bit about the things that I saw her do and the techniques that she seems to prefer, because I was a little bit surprised by some of them. You know, some of them are, I would say, more non-standard. So I'm going to go just sort of chronologically through the things that I saw and just sort of share them with you one by one, and we can discuss. So first off, magic rings. Right from the beginning, we all need to start our amigurumi with magic rings. The thing that was interesting to me that she talked about doing is that she actually closes her magic ring. So she does like the 6 crochets into the magic ring, and then she does do a final like 7th stitch, a slip stitch to join it. And then from there, she keeps going. And that slip stitch like doesn't exactly count as a stitch. You're still then doing like if the next round is like an increase in every stitch to 12, like that 7th sort of stitch doesn't really count. But other than that, she does not join her rounds. So I haven't seen anyone do that. I've seen most amigurumi in the round seems to just be spiral, spiral, spiral. You never join rounds. You just keep spiraling outward. But I have done some patterns specifically from the designer Repeat Crafter Me. I've done a couple of her patterns where it's all joined rounds, and there's like a certain technique to how you do that every at the end of every round you like do a slip stitch, you do a chain and you do a slip stitch to join. Maybe I'm doing this in the wrong order. And then you start the next round, and you have to like skip over some of the stitches to make the joins correct, but you end up with these like concentric circles and it's cool, but you do end up with a little bit of a seam all the way down. And so, yeah, Pika Pau talked about that in her video. She doesn't recommend doing the full joined rounds, although she does tend to join her magic ring only to end up with like that one being really a closed circle. And then from then on, she doesn't join the round. So I thought that was really interesting. And I think I'm going to have to try that just to see, like, just something else to try. I could see that very first top stitch having it be just like a little bit more of a closed circle. I mean, this one looks fine. This one's all just spiral, but I don't know, something to try. So that was, I thought, really interesting. Next up, when we talk about increasing and the way she designs her patterns, there's this idea that if you are sort of doing all of your increases in the exact same spot in the pattern, that it ends up coming out a little bit like a hexagon. I've seen different patterns talk about this and try to sort of stagger their increases in a way to make sure everything stays circular. So what I'm talking about is if you're starting with sort of like 6 stitches and then increase all the way for every stitch to 12, and then you do like 1 single crochet and increase all the way around for 18, and then you do 2 single crochet and increase for 24, and then 3 single crochet and increase for 32. Am I doing the math right? Etc., which is a very common way to start like these circles, these heads, things like that. If you always are doing the increasing at the end of that like set of stitches, it can end up becoming a little bit of a hexagon. And so some people in their patterns specifically choose to stagger it so it ends up much more circular. She specifically addresses that in her videos and says she does not mind it. She actually likes the look of it. And like technically, I mean, this one was done that way. Like technically what she says, which I think is true, is that once you stuff it, like you cannot even tell. And that it actually looks kind of nice, like the segments almost, it's almost like triangles going down that are like stitched together, although it's just the way it comes out when you keep going down. But I thought that was interesting. Like I've also had a feeling of if I see a pattern that's written that way, maybe I should like adjust it to try to stagger the stitches a little bit because like, of course we want it to be circular and that's like better. But again, there is no better. It's all just, matter of preference. And she likes the hexagon look and does not mind. And it's even all the way. And then, yeah, once you stuff it, like you can barely tell. So that I thought was really interesting. One more super random thing. She talks about stitch markers and she shows herself using them, and she uses bobby pins as stitch markers. You hear people talking about you can really use anything as a stitch marker. Bobby pins, paper clips, dangly earrings, just a scrap of yarn that you have lying around, like anything like that. But when I first saw her using bobby pins, I just thought that's so cool. She's like been crocheting for years and years, but I can actually really see like a bobby pin is big, and I could see it kind of get in the way a little, but it does have that like jagged edge that I feel like will stay on. It's not going to like accidentally come off. It's also super long. So yeah, that like totally works. And it's like, you don't need to like buy fancy equipment, I personally love the stitch markers that I use, which are called Cocoa. They're from the brand Cocoa Knits, and they're split stitch markers, and I love them. But I can totally see why, like, you do not need to spend money on this. You can use a bobby pin, you can use a paper clip, anything like that. So I thought that was kind of cool. A lot of people I think are aware of the fact that she does yarn under. She doesn't actually specifically address it in the videos. This one I made with yarn over, and for my next one I'm going to try yarn under. I tried to watch really carefully in her videos, and what she is, I'm pretty positive she's doing sort of the yarn under, yarn over technique. So the first part of the stitch is a yarn under, and the second part of the stitch is the yarn over, which I think is pretty standard among people who do yarn under in amigurumi. She does not specifically address this, though I've heard, I think that in her books, she does talk about it, and it has the X stitch, which just comes out like much more neat. And I do talk about this in my Owen Stoat video, that like you can really see the V's here, and then I'm excited to try the X's next time, and I think it's going to come out a lot neater and with sort of everything a little more nicely stacked. Another interesting thing that she talks about is for decreases. She does not do invisible decreases. She does standard decreases. So again, when I think about everything that I've sort of learned up until now with amigurumi, I feel like most people talk about how with amigurumi, sort of the right, maybe they don't say right, but like the better thing to do is a an invisible decrease because otherwise it's not invisible. It's like you see it much more clearly as a decrease. I actually think there's a difference with yarn under and yarn over. In this case, that yarn under actually makes the invisible decrease slightly less invisible. So maybe that does make sense. But she just does standard decreases, and for her, that works. So yeah, maybe that's something to try when I do yarn under next time. And maybe ideally, really, I should try like both ways and compare because I am very curious. Totally separate and not related to what she talked about, but I've also heard of there's such thing apparently as an invisible increase, which I have never myself done. And I have not really come across it in like tutorial videos that I've done, but I've heard it mentioned elsewhere, and I need to check out what that means. Because again, like invisible, anything sounds good, but like what is it like in practice? So things for me to examine in the future. But that is beside the point with Pika Pow. Let me check my notes and see what else. Okay, color changes. So like I said, I talked about this guy. I don't love his color changes all the way through, but this one, because it's not like stripes, it's not super, super apparent. You can see it like here with the one sort of row. You do end up with this jog when you do a color change. And so the pattern that she's working on in the tutorial videos is a bear with a striped shirt. It goes every other row, white to blue. And it ends up with that jog like very visibly all the way down, 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 down. You really truly see the jog of where you're switching from one color to the next. And she addresses it head on and says like she does not mind it and she actually likes it. There's so many videos out there that are talking about sort of how to do like a seamless color change. And I myself have been actually kind of obsessed with like trying to learn different ways and see what's best. And I have to say I do like the look of it being even. That's part of why I experimented with Repeat Crafter Me designs and her joining of the rounds, because although you end up with the seam, you do end up with much more like concentric circles than don't have the jog when you change colors. And so I don't know, I thought that was so interesting to hear again straight from Pika Pow that she actually really doesn't mind the color changes and the jog that results in that, and that it's like part of the look, part of a handmade design, and that's just like that's what she does. And it's like it's on the back, so it's not like super visible, but it's like, yeah, this is handmade, this isn't like machine made in a factory. I actually found a quote from her on her blog that I want to read because I just think this is so perfect, and I just need to keep this in my mind like forevermore when I'm crocheting. So let me read it. I will post it below, and I'll post the blog post where this comes from. She says, maybe it's an excuse my head worked on years ago to allow me to continue crocheting without getting stuck there. But what happens to me with these details is that instead of seeing them as mistakes to be fixed, for me, they're signs of hand-crocheted characteristics of crochet. Something like appreciating the joints of a piece of wooden furniture or like fingerprints on a piece of pottery. So I just love that so much. It's like, it's basically her saying like, it's fine however it comes out. This is like handmade. It's not going to be perfect. And something like those color change jogs, like that's just part of it. That's just how it comes out when you sort of follow the traditional techniques. And so like if you don't want that, again, there's like tons of videos out there that teach different techniques. I'm not sure for myself. Like I still think I probably prefer one of those other techniques if I can like land on one that I like, which I haven't quite gotten there yet. But it's just good to know that like you don't have to do it. You can just like follow the traditional thing. You end up with the seam, you end up with the jog, whatever. And it's just like, this is what it is. It's a handmade piece. Like that's okay. And it's part of being unique. And I would even like extrapolate that out to like, if you make a mistake, maybe it's just part of it. Like, do you have to undo everything and make everything super, super precise and perfect? It's like, this is what makes it unique. And it's like a beautiful handmade thing that you yourself made. And it's like, it's very like specifically not perfect. So I just thought that was like such a nice lesson. And I love that quote. And I'm going to remember that. Other than that, let me just double check my notes to see if there's anything else. Oh, I made one small other note about sewing pieces on and things like arms and the ears. For myself, I actually closed them. I crocheted them closed before stitching them on. The pattern did not specify to do that, but I had seen someone somewhere along the line say like it's just easier if you do it that way. But she does have videos showing how she sews on arms and ears, and she does not close them ahead of time, and she doesn't even really close them as she sews them on. She basically like sews the top and she sews the bottom, and they're like pretty close together, so it still ends up really closed. It's not like you're like sewing it in a giant circle. But it's never truly like going through both sides of the arm. And it actually, in some ways, probably comes out looking a little more like a normal arm with a shoulder as opposed to just like this tiny, like straight, like line. So just a small detail, but I thought that was an interesting one that I'm going to have to check out again for next time when I do arms and ears and things like that. One final note that I just thought was funny that just goes along with everything that I've been saying so far is that every time she was crocheting all the way around, like around and doing the counting where you're doing again, like three single crochet and an increase like all the way around, she would always ask when she got to the end of the round kind of to herself like, let's see if I counted it correctly, let's see if it comes out even, if I don't end on an increase then I know it's not right. And I just, something about that made me just so happy that it's like, here's this woman who's been crocheting for like a zillion years, she's super experienced, and of course she also goes through that, which I go through myself, every round I'm like, am I gonna count it right, did I do it right? It almost makes me think of the like stars. They're just like us, like Pica Pow. She's just like us. She also sometimes miscounts, and she talked about how she like very often gets to the end of the round, realizes the count is off, and has to like go back and redo it. Not the end of the world. Nothing's the end of the world. No pasa nada, as she says in Espanol a lot, which is a great phrase and perfect for this whole sort of philosophy. It doesn't really matter. Nothing happens. Like you can just undo it and redo it. So I just again thought like she's so cool. It's like so cool to see her making these tutorials, sharing her techniques with us. But there were some surprising things in there, just like different techniques that I wasn't expecting. And so I just wanted to kind of talk through it, like solidify sort of for myself these sort of like learnings, and also share them with you. Do check out her videos if you want to see them for yourself. Again, you can use the subtitles to watch them in a different language if you don't speak Spanish. But it's super cool that she like has these videos and is sharing her knowledge. And again, just the biggest thing for me is that sort of philosophy that like these are all just techniques, do what works for you, and these are all just options. So I love her, and I'm excited to make more patterns from her in the future. I have to work my way through the Hobbii. I still have 3 more weeks of advent calendars, and then I'm excited to like do more of her patterns, buy her books. I want to do all of the animal friends and all of that. So yeah, I think that's it for today. Thank you so much for keeping me company, and I'll see you next time. Bye.